I never imagined my marriage would end at a restaurant table covered in half-eaten pancakes and cold eggs. It happened on a bright Sunday morning, the kind where families fill every corner booth. His family loved brunch, they treated it like a weekly holiday. I sat beside my husband, holding his hand under the table, thinking everything was normal. His mother kept asking about summer plans, his father was arguing with the waiter about syrup, and I was smiling politely like always. Then my husband stood up, cleared his throat, and tapped his glass with a fork. The sound sliced through the room and made everyone look up. "I need to say something," he announced. His mother gasped. His sister stopped chewing. I squeezed his hand, but he pulled away. "I've decided that Ariana and I are getting a divorce." Just like that, like he was announcing the weather. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. The table went silent. My fork slipped from my hand and hit the plate with a loud clang. I stared at him, waiting for it to be a joke. It wasn't. And while his family stared at me like I was the problem, I remembered the message his sister had sent me 2 nights before. The video I hadn't shown anyone, not yet. I didn't cry, shock froze the tears before they could fall. His mother leaned in, her voice sharp. "Ariana, what did you do?" I blinked. "What I did?" My husband sat down calmly, like he had just solved a puzzle. "It's better this way. I've met someone who understands me." "Someone who?" His father raised a hand. "Save it. You tell the whole family now? In public?" His sister looked at me. Her eyes were wide, but not surprised. That told me everything she already knew. I swallowed hard and stared at her. She looked away. 2 nights earlier, at almost midnight, she had messaged me a shaky video with the words, "You need to see this." "I'm sorry." I had watched it only once. It was enough. At the table, the embarrassment burned through me like fire. People at nearby tables whispered. Even the waiter froze mid-step. But underneath the humiliation was something else, something cold, something steady. I wasn't going to scream or beg. I wasn't going to ask him why. If he wanted an audience, he would get one. Just not the way he expected. Because I had proof, video proof, of the real reason he wanted a divorce. His mother continued scolding me like I was a child. "Ariana, you must have pushed him too far. My son would never." I raised a hand gently. "Please don't finish that sentence." My husband sighed, annoyed. "This is exactly why it isn't working. You always make things dramatic." I almost laughed. He announced our divorce during brunch in front of a dozen people, but I was dramatic. His sister shifted in her seat, her eyes heavy with guilt. She had always been kind to me, sweeter than the rest of them. That's why her video meant something. That's why it mattered. My husband cleared his throat. "I'm moving out today. I'll send paperwork this week." He actually believed he was in control. He actually believed he could humiliate me, then walk away like a hero. I took a slow breath. "I have something to say too." He rolled his eyes. "Ariana, don't make a scene." But I was calm, too calm, because I knew something he didn't. I knew his sister had recorded him and the someone knew he was so proud of. I slipped my phone out of my purse. His sister's hands flew to her mouth. She knew exactly what was coming. I stood up, not fast. Not emotional, just steady. The whole table watched me like I had suddenly grown wings. "I didn't want to do this," I said quietly. "But since you chose to make a public announcement." My husband frowned. "What are you talking about?" I tapped the screen, opened the message his sister had sent, and pressed play. The restaurant wasn't noisy enough to cover the sound. His voice filled the air. So did another woman's. The angle was shaky, like it had been filmed in secret, but the important parts were clear, too clear. His arm around another woman's waist, his mouth on her neck, his voice saying, "Ariana never has to know." Gasps erupted around the table. His father swore under his breath. His mother slapped her napkin to the ground. My husband jumped from his chair. "Ariana, turn that off. Are you insane?" I didn't. The video played until the very end. His sister buried her face in her hands. She whispered, "I'm sorry. I couldn't let him blame you." My husband's face turned pale as I'd ever seen it. Now the entire family knew the truth. And I wasn't done. He reached for my phone, but I stepped back. "Don't," I warned. People from other tables were turning to look, phones were being lifted discreetly, the humiliation he had planned for me was now burning at him. His father pointed at him angrily. "You cheated? You stood here blaming her when you did this?" His mother shook her head in shock. "My son. I raised you better." He kept glancing around, panicking, sweating, choking on the attention he thought he wanted. "I didn't. It was a mistake, it wasn't." I interrupted softly, "Don't lie now. Everyone just watched it." His sister whispered, "Ariana tried to protect you. You tried to ruin her." He glared at her. "Why would you film that?" She met his eyes. "Because you were hurting someone who didn't deserve it." The silence that followed was heavy, almost unbearable. I finally picked up my purse. "Since you made the divorce public, I'll respect that. But you won't rewrite the story. Not this time." He tried to speak, but the words tangled in his throat. For the first time since I met him, he looked small, very small. I walked out of the restaurant, not crying, not shaking, just free. When I stepped outside, the cool air hit my face like a reset button. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment, breathing slowly, letting everything settle. Inside the restaurant, voices rose. I could hear his mother crying, his father shouting, and his sister trying to calm them all down. The chaos belonged to them now, not me. My phone buzzed. It was his sister. "Ariana, please don't go home yet. He's angry. I'll talk to my parents and call you." I replied, "I'm okay. Thank you." And I meant it. For the first time in months, I actually felt okay. I walked to my car, sat inside, and stared at the steering wheel. A strange peace washed over me. Not happiness. Not triumph. Just clarity. He had tried to humiliate me publicly that he had cheated and then tried to blame me that he had thought I would sit quietly and accept it. But he didn't know who he married. I wasn't loud, I wasn't dramatic, but I wasn't weak. I turned on the engine, drove to a nearby park, and sat by the lake. The water moved softly, sunlight dancing across the surface. For a long time, I just watched it, letting myself breathe. The war he started was finally balanced, and I wasn't finished yet. By the time I got home, my phone was exploding with messages. 16 missed calls, all from him. 8 texts, all angry. 3 voicemails, all frantic. I didn't listen to a single one. When I walked into the living room, the place felt different, not because anything had changed, because I had. This house had been filled with quiet tension for months. He had been distant, distracted, cold. I thought it was stress. Now I knew it was guilt. I walked into the bedroom and noticed something that made me freeze. His suitcase was packed. Not halfway, not rushed, completely. He had planned this. The brunch announcement wasn't impulsive. He wanted an audience for his big moment. That realization lit a fire inside me. He'd expected applause, he got exposure instead. I checked my email next. His divorce documents were already drafted, dated 3 days before the brunch. 3 days. He wasn't leaving me for someone who understood him. He was leaving me because he was caught, because the woman in the video wanted him to make it official. I sat on the edge of the bed and whispered to myself, he wanted a performance. Now he'll get the full show. His family called me next, one by one. His father spoke first. "Ariana. I'm ashamed of him. Are you safe?" "Yes," I said. "I'm fine." His mother was crying when she called. "I defended him," she sobbed. "I blamed you. I'm so sorry." But his sister's voice was the softest. "Ariana, thank you for leaving quietly. He deserved worse. I didn't feel angry at her, she had done the right thing, even when it meant betraying her own brother. Not long after, there was a loud banging at my door. I didn't open it, I looked through the peephole and saw him pacing on the porch, red-faced and sweating. "Ariana, open the door. We need to talk." I said nothing. He pounded again. "You ruined my family. You embarrassed me." I almost laughed. He thought I ruined things. All I did was press play. He kept shouting, demanding, begging, threatening. I listened quietly from behind the locked door. Finally, he yelled, "You're going to regret this," and stormed off. As soon as he left, I called his sister. "He's spiraling," she warned. "I know," I said calmly. "But I'm done protecting him." And for once, she agreed. The next morning, I met with a lawyer. A calm, steady woman named Mariah who listened carefully as I explained everything from the brunch to the video. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, she folded her hands. "Ariana, this actually works in your favor. You didn't expose him privately, he created the public setting. You only defended yourself." I nodded. I had thought the same. Mariah continued, "We'll respond to his divorce filing, but we'll counter for fair division. And given the evidence, you'll have the upper hand." I felt myself exhale. A long, overdue breath. After the meeting, I stopped for coffee, not to treat myself, just to feel normal again. But normal had changed. As I sat by the window, I replayed the moment he announced the divorce like a news headline. He wanted to look confident, he wanted to look noble, he wanted to look like the man leaving the marriage for growth. Instead, everyone saw him for who he really was. Not because I screamed, not because I argued, but because the truth did all the talking. By the end of the week, the video had quietly traveled through his entire family. His aunt messaged me, his cousins messaged me, even his grandmother called me, furious with him, not me. He had wanted his family to support him, instead, they turned their backs. His mother texted him, "You embarrassed us. Don't contact me until you fix your life." He showed up at my house again, this time calmer, almost desperate. "Ariana, please. You don't understand. That video was a mistake." I opened the door only enough to see his face. "I understand perfectly." He swallowed hard. "I didn't mean to hurt you." "Yes, you did," I said quietly, "and you did it in public." He reached for my hand, but I stepped back. "Ariana, we can fix this." "No. You broke it." His eyes filled with something I had never seen before, fear. Not fear of losing me, fear of losing the image he built, fear of losing control. He whispered, "What do you want from me?" I answered honestly, "Nothing." Then I closed the door. For the first time, he understood that he had already lost. The following week was strangely calm. My house felt peaceful without his voice filling every corner. I kept expecting chaos to return, but it didn't. Instead, it showed up in a different way, through his family. His father called me first. "Ariana, he's staying with us. He barely talks. He refuses to admit anything." I stayed silent, there was nothing left to say. Later that night, his sister texted me. "The woman in the video is messaging him non-stop. She wants him to move in with her. He's panicking." I almost felt sorry for him, almost. A few hours later, another message came from her. "Ariana, I know this sounds strange, but thank you. You did the right thing." It was the first time someone from his family said it out loud. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding myself. I went for morning walks, cleaned the house, and moved his things into boxes, not out of anger, out of closure. Each item I packed erased a piece of the pain. His favorite jacket, his watch, the cologne he used to drown himself in before his late nights. I taped the last box shut and whispered, "Your chapter is over." And for the first time, I believed it. The next day, I got a message from an unknown number. It read, "Stay away from him. He's mine now." I stared at it, stunned. It had to be her, the woman from the video. A minute later, another text arrived. He told me everything. You're trying to ruin his life. I almost laughed at if only she knew he ruined his own life long before I pressed play. Just as I was about to block her, she sent one more message. He said you're obsessed with him. My jaw tightened. Obsessed? I hadn't even answered his calls. I hadn't chased him. I hadn't done anything except expose the truth. I screenshot her texts and forwarded them to his sister. Seconds later, she replied. She's lying. He's lying to her too. She thinks he's the victim. A calm anger settled over me that he was rewriting the story again, even after everything. But the difference now was simple. I didn't have to prove anything anymore. Everyone had already seen the truth. I blocked the number. If she wanted to believe his lies, that was her choice, but she had no idea what was coming next. 2 days later, I received an email from my lawyer, Mariah. She needed me to come in to review several financial documents he had submitted. When I arrived, she slid a folder across the table. You should see this, she said. My husband had submitted his list of assets, and that's when I realized something shocking: that he had dramatically undervalued his income, that he tried to hide certain accounts, that he claimed he couldn't afford fair division. Mariah shook her head. He's lying on legal documents. If the judge sees this, it won't end well for him. A quiet satisfaction spread through me that he thought he could manipulate the system the same way he manipulated people, but legal documents don't bend for charm, they break people who lie on them. Mariah leaned back. We'll request full disclosure. Once the court sees the real numbers, he'll owe you more than he expected. I felt a warmth in my chest, not spite, not revenge, just justice. I left her office with a strange calmness. The more he tried to save himself, the deeper he dug his own hole. And I didn't even have to lift a finger. That night, his sister showed up at my house. Her eyes were red from crying. Ariana, she said, stepping inside, you need to hear what happened. She sat on the couch, twisting her hands. He told the woman from the video that you faked it. He said he never cheated, that you edited everything. I felt my jaw clench. He's still trying to twist the truth? She nodded, and she believed him. She told him she doesn't want to be around a manipulator like you. I let out a slow breath. How did he react? Her voice softened. He begged her to stay. Begged. A silence settled between us, not heavy, revealing that he wasn't heartbroken, that he was terrified of being alone. His sister continued, my parents won't talk to him. That girl blocked him. He's desperate. He keeps saying you destroyed his life. I looked at her calmly. No. I just revealed it. She wiped her eyes. Ariana, he asked me to convince you to take him back. I didn't laugh. I didn't cry. I just said the truth. That door closed the moment he opened his mouth at that brunch. The next morning, he arrived at my house unannounced, again. But this time, he didn't knock. He waited on the porch, sitting on the step like a child in trouble. When I stepped outside, he stood up quickly. Ariana, please. Let me explain. I crossed my arms. You already explained. In public. He swallowed hard. I made a mistake. She wasn't worth it. None of it was worth it. Please, let me come inside. No, I said simply. His eyes darted around, searching for sympathy. Ariana, I'm losing everything. My parents won't talk to me. My job is giving me warnings. That woman blocked me. I have no one left. That's because of your choices, I replied calmly. He stepped closer, voice breaking. I need you. I shook my head. No. You needed honesty. You needed loyalty. You needed respect. You gave all of that away. He reached for my hand, but I pulled back. You wanted freedom, I said softly. You have it now. His face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw what he truly feared, not losing me, losing the version of himself he pretended to be. I walked back into the house and closed the door gently. The sound of the lock clicking was the final goodbye. Days passed, and he didn't show up again, not because he suddenly respected my boundaries, because he was dealing with consequences he didn't expect. His sister called me one evening, her voice low. "Ariana, he had a meeting with the company board today." My heartbeat slowed. What happened? "They saw the video." I closed my eyes. "Someone sent it to them?" She hesitated. "I think someone at the brunch recorded it." It spread. My stomach tightened, not from guilt, but from the weight of reality. His sister continued, "He tried to say you faked it, but the board didn't believe him. They said his behavior was unprofessional and damaging to the company image. They're putting him on leave, unpaid." A quiet silence stretched between us. I didn't feel victorious, just done. When we hung up, I stood by the window for a long time, watching cars pass under streetlights. He had tried so hard to look like a victim in front of his family, now the world was seeing the real version. Not because I fought him, not because I exposed him online. But because lies always collapse eventually, and the truth he tried to bury found its own way out. The following afternoon, my lawyer called again. "Ariana, we received his updated financial disclosure." I braced myself, and Mariah actually laughed. "He tried to hide more money." Again. I shook my head slowly. "He never learns." She flipped through papers. "He claimed he only has one savings account." "We found 4. 4? Yes. And he forgot to include 2 investment portfolios." "Ariana, judges don't like dishonesty. This won't go well for him." I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief, sadness for who he had become, relief for who I no longer had to be. Mariah continued, "We'll request full penalties. You'll walk away with more than your fair share. Legally, he's backed himself into a corner." I thanked her and hung up. Later that evening, as I folded laundry, I realized something simple but powerful. I wasn't scared anymore, not of him, not of the future, not of starting over. The truth had already done half the work, the rest was happening naturally. And for once, I felt secure. Not because he wanted me, but because I didn't want him anymore. A week later, I stepped outside to water my plants and found an envelope on my porch. My name was written on it in messy handwriting. I hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a letter from his mother. "Ariana, I'm ashamed of my son. I judged you unfairly. You didn't deserve any of this. If you ever need anything, my home is open to you. Maria." I sat down on the porch step, stunned. His mother had never fully accepted me. She had always been protective of her son, convinced he could never do wrong. Now she was apologizing. To me. Later that day, she called as well, her voice cracked as she spoke. "Ariana, I want you to know something. He's been lying to us for years. You weren't the first woman he betrayed." My breath caught. "Years?" "Yes," she whispered. "We didn't want to see it. We didn't want to believe it." The truth hit me in waves, all the strange behavior, all the coldness, all the late nights. It wasn't new. I had just been the only one brave enough to confront it. And now his own mother was thanking me for showing them who he really was. The next court date arrived faster than expected. I walked into the building with calm steps, wearing a simple navy dress and holding only the papers Mariah prepared. He arrived seconds later, looking smaller than I remembered, his suit wrinkled, hair uncombed, eyes tired. When he saw me, something flickered across his face, regret, maybe or fear. Mariah leaned toward me. "Remember, stay quiet. The facts speak for themselves." And they did. The judge reviewed the fake financial disclosures, reviewed the discrepancies, reviewed the attempts to hide money. Then he looked at my husband and said the words that changed everything. "You have repeatedly lied to this court. You will face penalties and owe additional compensation." My husband opened his mouth to argue, but the judge raised a hand. "Do not speak unless spoken to." I didn't smile, I didn't celebrate. I just watched the truth do its job. When the hearing ended, he followed me outside. "Ariana, don't do this. Don't let them take everything. I turned to him. I'm not taking anything. You lost it. He didn't reply because deep down, he knew it was true. After court, his sister invited me to coffee. She hugged me the moment I walked in. Ariana, thank you, she whispered. For what? For not letting him ruin you. For showing all of us who he really was. For handling everything with more grace than he deserved. We sat down and talked for over an hour. She told me things I never knew, how he'd always craved attention, how he lied to impress people, how he blamed others for his mistakes. He thought he could hurt you publicly, she said softly, but you didn't fight dirty. You fought with truth. And that's why everyone respects you. I took a sip of my coffee and stared out the window. For the first time since the brunch, I felt a warmth inside me, not anger, not revenge, but closure. Real closure. He's moving out of state soon, she added. He wants to start fresh. I nodded. Let him. I already did. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. You deserve better. You always did. When I stepped outside, the sun felt brighter, the air felt lighter. And I knew, the final chapters of my life with him were almost finished. 2 weeks later, I received a message from his HR department. At first, I thought it was a mistake, then I read the subject line. Formal request for documentation. My stomach tightened, not from fear, but curiosity. The email explained that they were conducting an internal review of his behavior, including personal misconduct affecting the company's reputation. They needed copies of the video and any related messages for their file. I sat back in my chair, stunned. His job wasn't just on leave. He was under investigation. I called his sister, she sighed. The board wants to protect the company image. They're using everything available. I swallowed. Will he lose his job? Ariana, it's almost certain. I stared at the wall, feeling a deep, unexpected ache, not for him, for the version of us that could have existed if he hadn't thrown everything away. But then I remembered the brunch, the video, the months of lies, the public humiliation. And the ache evaporated. I forwarded the requested documents to HR with a short, polite note.no anger.no commentary, just the truth. An hour later, they replied. Thank you, Ariana. We appreciate your cooperation. I closed my laptop slowly. He had built his downfall with his own hands. All I ever did was stop covering it for him. A few days later, I ran into his mother at the grocery store. She looked tired, older somehow, but when she saw me, her expression softened. Ariana, she whispered, touching my arm gently. How are you holding up? I'm okay, I said honestly. She nodded. Good. You deserve peace. Then she hesitated, glancing at the ground. My son, he hasn't been the same since the brunch. He doesn't leave his room. He keeps saying he lost everything. I didn't respond immediately. I couldn't fix him. I wasn't meant to. She continued softly, I want you to know, we're on your side. You are family to us. And you still are, if you want to be. That hit deeper than I expected. I hugged her, not because I missed him, but because I missed the version of myself who used to believe in our marriage. Before she left, she said one more thing. Ariana, thank you for telling the truth. You saved us from years of lies. I watched her walk away, her shoulders heavy yet relieved. It occurred to me then that betrayal doesn't just break marriages, it breaks families, trust, and illusions. But honesty rebuilds what's real. And that's what I had now, something real. The official divorce hearing came on a windy Tuesday afternoon. I felt strangely calm as I walked into the courthouse, my hair tied back, wearing the same navy dress from the first hearing. He arrived late, his tie was crooked, and his eyes were hollow. For a moment, I almost didn't recognize him. When the judge read the decision, it was short and final. He owed financial penalties for dishonesty. He owed fair compensation for the marriage. He must complete mandatory counseling due to emotional misconduct. I retained the house. He kept only what he could prove he purchased alone. He didn't argue. He just stared at the floor like a man who finally understood the cost of his actions. Afterward, he approached me in the hallway, his voice cracked. "Ariana, can we talk?" I shook my head softly. "There's nothing left to say." He swallowed hard. "I didn't know who I was until you showed everyone." "That wasn't me," I said. "That was you." For a moment, he stood perfectly still, like reality had finally snapped into place. Then I turned and walked away, each step feeling lighter, cleaner, truer. I wasn't running from pain anymore, I was walking into freedom. Life after the divorce felt strangely bright, not because everything was perfect, but because nothing felt heavy anymore. I started new projects. I reconnected with friends I had slowly drifted from. I even redecorated the living room, removing every last trace of him. One evening, his sister invited me to a family gathering, his family gathering. At first, I hesitated, but she insisted, "This isn't about him. It's about us." So I went. When I walked in, his mother hugged me tightly, and his father offered me a warm smile. "You'll always have a place here," he said. We talked, laughed, shared stories. They treated me with kindness I hadn't felt in years. But the most emotional moment came when his grandmother took my hands and said, "You handled heartbreak with grace most people twice your age don't have. You didn't scream, you didn't lie, you didn't hide. You simply showed the truth." Her eyes glistened. "I'm proud of you." Later that night, as I drove home, I realized something. I had lost a husband, but gained myself, my dignity, and somehow, parts of a family that still valued me. Justice isn't always loud, sometimes it's gentle, like a door closing quietly behind you. Months passed, spring turned to summer, and one afternoon, while organizing paperwork, I found the old video again. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I pressed delete. Not to protect him, but to release myself. The past had already played out, the truth had already done its work, I didn't need it anymore. That evening, I took a walk by the lake, the same one I visited the day he announced the divorce. The water shimmered softly under the golden sunset. I felt lighter, stronger, whole. My phone buzzed. A message from his sister. "He moved away today. No one knows where. Just thought you should know." I typed back, "I hope he finds the help he needs." And I meant it. Not because he deserved sympathy, but because I deserved peace. I looked out at the water one last time and whispered, "I survived you. I found myself. And I'm done." Then I walked away, the sun warm on my back, the future wide open. I wasn't the woman he left at that brunch table. I was the woman who stood up, pressed play, and chose herself. And that was the real ending, quiet, powerful, final.